Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Mary Newport. I'm a physician in Spring Hill, Florida, and I worked in newborn intensive care units for 30 years where we had to practice very intense infection control. And with the current pandemic that we are worried about, we are now instructed to wear masks when we are out in public, and many stores are now requiring people to wear a mask when they come in. So there are a lot of other videos out there, but I'm going to show you a relatively easy fabric type mask that you can make. And this has a pocket that you can insert a filter into, such as a coffee filter. You can insert a plastic shield, something along those lines to give you even more protection. I'm also going to show you how to make a larger face shield that can be attached to the outside of the mask. To get started, some of the things you will need are fabric for the outer layer. This could be a woven cotton or cotton polyester blend. It would work better than a knit fabric because they tend to be maybe a little too flexible and flimsy, but a woven cotton or cotton polyester blend such as that people use for quilting could work, as well as a woven nylon. I've tried both and these both work very well. Also, if you want the mask to be a little bit thicker and maybe more protective, you could put some batting as a middle layer into this mask. And for the inner layer, I suggest a simple white or off-white muslin, cotton muslin, or you could use the same fabric as you're using for the outside layer. And then you need something to put the mask on with. So this could be elastic cord, which I will show and this is what is shown in this presentation, or you could use 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch wide elastic to make ear loops or make bands that go behind the head. You could use something like bias tape, long shoestrings if you have nothing else. I'm sure there are other possibilities here. You will need a scissors, or you can use a rotary cutter with a plastic mat to cut them out. If you're making a lot of masks, the rotary cutter goes much faster. And then an iron and an ironing board. I suggest that you press as you go. You press the folds. It makes sewing so much easier and faster and neater. So just a suggestion. And then I have patterns that you can print out for free, from my website, and I will post this video there as well, because you will need obviously a pattern to be able to make this. But you will see that I have photographed each step on a mat that has measurements on it, so you can get an idea of what the dimensions of this mask are, and you may want to adapt it a little bit for yourself. So I strongly recommend that you wash and dry all of the fabrics first, and then when you're done, they'll be ready to go. You won't have to worry about one layer shrinking while the other one doesn't. And then you fold each fabric in half, and then you will cut 2 mirror image pieces for each layer. For the optional batting, you can cut that 1 inch shorter on each side compared to the other layers, because this will be basically inside the mask and folded into the mask. Batting tends to be very thick, so if you try to fold that over a couple times, it will get very bulky at the edges. So the first thing you do is you take each layer and you sew the front seam, which is the curved part of the fabric. And you can see the demonstration here. You are going to sew the seam with the wrong sides out, the wrong sides of the fabric out, and sew it about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Then you cut little wedges along the curved edge as shown for each fabric, which will give you a smoother seam. You have to be very careful when you do this not to cut through the stitching. If you do happen to cut through the stitching, you can just run, sew again along the seam line there. Then I suggest that you press along the seam line with the seam turned to one side, and then you can top stitch that, and that will hold it in place very well. And it will make it a little bit more secure, the seam. And then you would fold the side seam of the lining about a 1/2 inch, press it, and then fold it again about a 1/2 inch and press it again. So here are your 3 layers basically ready to go. So you will take the piece of batting that's been sewn and place it inside the lining, and then put the pieces, the folds, over the top of the batting. And then you can pin it together if you need to, and then sew all the way around. You sew up the top seam, you can sew down through those folds, and then across the bottom seam and up again. And this secures the layer of batting and the lining. If you're not using batting, you can basically skip this particular step here. So if you want to make the mask a little more snug, you can add some elastic over the nose bridge and underneath the chin. So to do this, you can cut 2 3-inch long pieces of elastic. I suggest an 1/8 inch wide to a 1/4 inch wide, and mark the piece at the center and match it with the middle seam of the fabric and pin it there. So then you also position the elastic just below the stitching as shown, and you slightly pull on the elastic before you put the first stitch, and then stretch it as you go, the elastic, as you're sewing it down to the fabric. When you cross over the middle of the seam, then you can pull on the end of it and stitch it down. This then will allow the mask to tighten a little bit as it goes over the nose and under the chin. Then you put the wrong sides of the fabric, the inside layer and the outside layer, the wrong sides out, and you sew across the top and across the bottom. You're going to leave the sides, where the pocket is formed, open. And the last slide there shows what it looks like with the wrong sides facing out. So then you will turn the mask inside out so that the right side of the fabric layers are now facing out. You can turn it inside out from either edge. And then you will make a fold at the top and the bottom of the outer fabric, about a 3/8 inch fold, and press it. Next, you will press down the tops and the bottom to flatten out the seams, and you're going to top stitch. You're going to run about an 1/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric, a top stitching, which will help the mask lay flatter on the face. And I want you to note the pocket in the slide on the photo on the left, that there's an open pocket there where you can insert a filter or a plastic insert that you cut out, something along those lines, that you can maybe prevent more virus from getting through the mask. Then you will fold the fabric edge, this is the outside fabric, over about a 1/2 inch and press it, maybe slightly less than a 1/2 inch. And then you will take a 12-inch long piece of elastic cord, if that's what you plan to use, and you will lay it down inside the fold, and then you're going to stitch carefully between the elastic and the pocket, being very careful not to catch the elastic or the pocket in the fold. And once you have stitched that, then I strongly recommend stitching it again. This will make it much more secure and much less likely to tear, since there will be a lot of stress on that seam. Then the next thing you're going to do is tie a square knot in the elastic if you're using this type of elastic cord. The elastic cord that I'm showing here happened to be the type that is used for children's Halloween masks. It has a little metal clip on the end, and I found an order of about 50 of them on Amazon. So you might look there if you want to use this type of elastic cord. Otherwise, there are large spools of elastic cord that you can buy. So now I'm going to show you how to make a square knot. And this is something I learned in Girl Scouts probably 55 or more years ago. And it makes a very secure knot that won't slip. So I always think of it as left over right and under, right over left and under. So basically, you're going to put the right end of the elastic behind the left end and then loop it over like you're tying your shoes, and then you put the left end of the elastic behind the right end and loop it over, and then pull it through the circle as shown to form a secure knot that won't slip. Then you try on the mask, and if it's too loose or too tight, you can easily undo the knot and readjust it until it meets your satisfaction there. So this is the finished product, and you can put a filter or a plastic barrier into the pocket between the layers, whatever you like. I have a pattern for that you will see that you can print out for free from my website. I will have that on the last slide. And if you want it to be a little bit neater, you can slide the knot and ends of the elastic into the fold that the elastic goes through. And when you are done using it for the day, you can clean it by washing it, or you can steam iron it, which should kill any germs. If you're using any kind of metal in this mask, such as these little tips that you see on the elastic cord here, you would not want to put that in the microwave. Some people talk about microwaving the mask. Be aware of that. If there's a metal strip or these little metal things on the end of the elastic, do not put it in the microwave. You can also add safety glasses for greater protection, which should help keep the virus out of your eyes as well. And then if you are in a situation where you really have to worry about spray in your face, droplets getting to your face, you can make an optional face shield. So this is a pattern that I used to make a face shield that is shown here. And I found this flexible clear craft plastic online. The order that I got was for 50 pieces that were 12 by 12 inches. And it works out very well because if you place the bottom line there in the diagonally, you can cut out 2 of these from each 12 by 12 inch piece of plastic. Some other ideas, the first one that I made, I used the front of a report cover. A lot of people have some kind of plastic like that laying around the home that they can make a shield with. And then you can secure it on the mask with Velcro type, the hook and loop it's called. And I suggest finding the type that you can sew onto the mask, which will secure it. But you have to be careful not to sew your pocket closed. So you would want to put that on there before you attach the 2 layers of fabric to each other. You don't want to sew through that pocket. And then there's an adhesive type of Velcro that you can attach to the mask. So, you know, potentially this should be very easy to pull off and use to clean it, you know, with like an antiviral cleaner of some type. When the mask is in place, it projects to just below the chin and above the eyes. So if you're in a situation where you are worried about some type of droplets getting into your eyes or getting on your face, this might be a little more protective. So this is the end of the presentation, and I have free printable patterns for small children, larger children, teens, and average size adults, and an extra large mask for larger adults available that you can print out for free on my website at coconutketones.com. There is a lot of other information about coronavirus, and you might want to explore the rest of the website as well while you were there. I hope everyone will stay healthy, stay well, avoid this virus at all costs. If you must go out in public, wear a mask. If you don't have to go out, stay home. It is your best chance of beating this virus. Thank you for listening.